The strange encounter. The night was cold, and the wind howled across the ruins of the forgotten colony. The sky was full of dark clouds, and thunder rolled like an angry beast. A man sat alone near a small fire, his shadow dancing against the broken walls. His clothes were worn, his face tired, but his eyes were sharp, watching the darkness carefully. He was human, one of the few who had survived the long war with the alien empires. He thought he was alone. In this place he was always alone. For weeks he had not seen another soul. He listened only to the fire crackle and the storm whispering through broken metal. He pulled his old jacket tighter around his shoulders and tried to forget the emptiness of the world. Then, suddenly, he felt it. A presence. The small sound of movement. His hand went quickly to the knife at his belt. He rose, turning toward the shadows. His voice was firm but low. "Who's there?" No answer came at first, only the rain tapping against stone. But then from the darkness a small figure stepped into the light. It was not a soldier. It was not an enemy. It was a child. A tiny alien girl stood there, her large eyes glowing faintly in the firelight. Her skin shimmered with a strange soft color, like the reflection of stars. She wore no shoes, only a torn cloth around her shoulders. Her face looked curious, not afraid. The man froze. He had seen many aliens before, but never like this. Children were rare to find in war zones, and one this close to him was impossible. She tilted her head and stared at him. Her lips moved slowly, as if forming human words was difficult. Then she spoke. "Can I sit here?" Her voice was small, broken, but clear enough. The man frowned. "You speak my language?" She nodded slightly and stepped closer, her eyes never leaving his face. She did not seem afraid of his size, his scars, or the sharp knife still in his hand. Instead, she looked almost bold. The man hesitated. His first thought was danger. She could be a trap, a spy, or bait. The war had taught him not to trust easily. But something in her eyes held him back from turning her away. They were not the eyes of an enemy soldier. They were the eyes of someone lost, someone searching. Slowly, he lowered the knife and sat down again. He kept watching her closely. "You can sit," he said finally, his voice rough from silence. The girl's face lit up with a small smile, and she carefully walked closer. She sat down near the fire, her thin hands reaching toward the warmth. For a moment, they said nothing. Only the storm outside spoke. The man studied her. She was small, fragile, but there was something strange about her presence. He could not tell if it was innocence or danger. She looked human in some ways, but her glowing eyes reminded him that she was not. After a long silence, the girl looked at him again. "You are human," she said softly. "Yes," he answered. "And what are you doing here? Where are your people?" She lowered her head, her small shoulders shaking slightly. "Gone," she whispered. "All gone." The man's chest tightened. He knew that pain too well, the pain of losing everyone. He stared at her for a long moment before speaking. "You shouldn't be here. It's dangerous." The girl turned her head slowly, her expression calm, almost fearless. "I'm not afraid." Her words surprised him. She was young, weak, and alone, yet she sat there boldly watching the fire as if she belonged beside him. "Not afraid?" he repeated. "Of the dark? Of the storm? Of me?" She shook her head. Her glowing eyes locked on his. "I wanted to sit here." For the first time in many months, the man felt something unusual, a strange warmth inside him. This tiny alien girl, bold and unshaken, had chosen to sit beside him in the emptiness of the night. But his instincts whispered caution. Something was not right. Why was she here? Why was she alone? And why did she speak his language, even in broken words? The fire crackled louder. The storm raged above, and yet the night seemed quieter with her sitting there. The man leaned back, still watching her carefully. "You should rest. Tomorrow I'll take you somewhere safe." The girl's small hands gripped the edges of her cloth. Her expression turned serious and her voice dropped low. "No safe," she said firmly. "They will come." The man's eyes narrowed. "Who?" She looked at him, her eyes glowing brighter, almost trembling with hidden fear. "They," she whispered. "The ones who want me back." The fire popped, sending sparks into the air. The man felt a cold shiver run down his spine. Whoever this child was, she was not just lost. She was hunted, and by sitting beside him, she had just changed his fate. The bold curiosity. The storm had calmed by morning, but the air was still heavy with mist and silence. The man woke early, his hand instinctively reaching for the knife by his side. The small alien girl was still there, sitting cross-legged by the dying fire. She had not run away during the night. She had not even slept much. Her glowing eyes stared at him with quiet interest, as if she had been watching him all night. "You sleep loud," she said suddenly, her words clumsy but direct. The man blinked. "Loud?" She nodded, "like thunder." For a moment he almost laughed, but his face stayed stern. He did not know what to make of her. She was not afraid of him. She was not shy. Instead, she was bold, too bold for someone so small. The girl leaned closer, her head tilting like a curious bird. "Why are you alone?" she asked. The man stiffened. No one had asked him that question in years. He avoided her eyes, throwing more wood on the fire. "Because there's no one left." She did not look away. No family. No tribe. Her questions cut deeper than she knew. His jaw tightened and his hands worked the firewood harder than needed. "Enough questions," he muttered. But she ignored him. "Why do you not fear the dark?" His eyes snapped toward her. "What?" she repeated, her voice firmer this time. "The dark. You do not fear it. Others do, but you—" "Not," the man stared at her. There was no way she could know his thoughts. And yet the way she said it made his skin crawl. "You ask too much," he said coldly. Still, she did not back down. Her small hand reached toward his arm, her glowing fingers brushing against the old scars there. He flinched at her touch. "These marks," she whispered. "Pain. You fought. You bled, but still. You are here. Why?" The man pulled his arm back roughly. "Because I had no choice." The girl tilted her head again, studying him with those strange eyes. Her curiosity was not simple, it was fearless, almost dangerous. It felt as if she was peeling open the walls around his heart without asking. After a long silence, the girl lowered her voice. "They will come. They always come." "For me," the man turned sharply. "Who will come?" Her small hands clenched tightly around her knees. Her glowing eyes dimmed with unease. "Soldiers, hunters, not like you. They want me back," the man frowned. He did not like the sound of that. "Why? What do they want with a child?" She looked at him, and for the first time her boldness cracked. Her voice trembled. "I am not just child. I hear things. I feel things. Even you." His chest tightened. "Even me?" She nodded slowly. "Last night, you thought of fire. You thought of your home. You thought of faces you lost. I heard them inside." The man froze, his heart pounding. She had spoken the truth. He had thought of all those things silently in the quiet of the storm. No one could have known. No one but him. His hand instinctively moved to his knife, but he stopped halfway. The girl did not flinch, did not cry. She only stared at him, her tiny face calm, almost defiant. "I am not weapon," she said softly. "I am just me, but they think I am." The man felt the weight of her words pressing down on him. If what she said was true, then she was far more dangerous than she looked, and far more valuable to those who hunted her. Before he could reply, a sharp sound cut through the mist. Voices distant but moving closer. The girl's head snapped up, her eyes wide. "They come," she whispered, her small body trembling now. The man rose instantly, knife in hand, scanning the ruins around them. His soldier instincts returned in an instant. "How many?" he asked. She closed her eyes, listening to something he could not hear. Then she opened them again. 3, maybe 4. "Not far," the man cursed under his breath. He looked at her, small, fragile, hunted. His mind raced. He had survived this long by staying alone, by avoiding fights he could not win. But now, sitting beside him, was a child who had chosen him, and the hunters were already here. The girl's glowing eyes locked on his. "Do not let them take me," she pleaded. For the first time in years, the man felt something heavy stir in his chest. Responsibility. A choice. He tightened his grip on the knife, his jaw set. "Stay behind me," he said. The girl's lips curved into the faintest smile, even in fear. And as the footsteps drew closer, the man knew his quiet life of hiding was over. The hidden secret, the ruins were no longer silent. Voices echoed through the broken stone, deep and harsh, speaking in an alien tongue. The man crouched low, pulling the girl with him behind a shattered wall. His knife gleamed faintly in the morning light. But he knew it would not be enough against armored soldiers. The girl clutched his sleeve tightly, her glowing eyes fixed on the shadows moving in the mist. "They are close," she whispered. He pressed a finger to his lips, signaling silence, but she kept trembling. Her fear was real, and yet there was something more, something she was not saying. The footsteps drew nearer. The man peeked through a crack in the wall and saw them. 3 alien soldiers in dark armor scanning the ruins with glowing devices. Their weapons hummed with deadly power. These were no scouts. These were hunters. The man cursed under his breath. His instincts screamed at him to run, to leave the child behind and survive. But when he looked at her, small, fragile, eyes wide with both terror and determination, he felt that same weight again. Responsibility. "They want you," he muttered. "Why, what makes you so important?" The girl's lips parted, but she hesitated. For the first time, her boldness seemed to break. Her small hand pressed against her chest. "Because I'm not just me," she whispered. The man frowned. "Speak clearly." Her voice shook, but her words were sharp. "I can hear what others cannot. I can feel what others hide. I can touch the hearts of those around me." He stared at her, unbelieving. "You mean you can read minds?" She shook her head quickly. "Not words. Not thoughts, feelings, secrets, truth." Her glowing eyes locked on him, and her next words made his blood run cold. "I felt yours last night. The faces you lost. The fire, the guilt, the anger you bury." The man stiffened. Every scar inside him seemed to burn at her words. She had seen through him, through walls no one had ever crossed. Before he could respond, one of the soldiers shouted. A scanner beeped loudly. They had found a trail. The girl grabbed his hand suddenly, her small fingers surprisingly strong. "They want me because of this gift. They say I'm dangerous. They say I must be controlled. But I'm only a child. I did not choose this." The man's jaw tightened. He had seen this story before. People used as weapons, stripped of freedom, turned into tools. He had been a soldier in a war that chewed men alive, and now, staring at her, he realized she was fighting her own war. The soldiers moved closer, their boots crunching broken stone. The man scanned the ruins for escape. There was one path, a collapsed tunnel that led into the underground. Dangerous, but it was their only chance. He crouched low and whispered sharply, "Listen, we can't fight them head-on. We go underground. Stay close. Don't make a sound." The girl nodded, but before they could move, one of the soldiers stepped into view. His visor scanned the area, red light sweeping dangerously close. The man's muscles tensed. He was ready to strike if needed, but the girl suddenly closed her eyes. A faint glow spread from her skin like the shimmer of stars. The soldier stopped. He turned his head slowly, scanning the opposite direction as if he had lost the trail. The man's eyes widened. He whispered harshly, "What did you just do?" The girl opened her eyes, her face pale. "I made him feel nothing, just for a moment. But it will not last." The man grabbed her hand firmly and pulled her toward the tunnel. "Then we run." They slipped into the darkness just as the hunters turned back, their scanners flashing again. Inside the tunnel, the air was damp and heavy. The man lit a small torch, shadows stretching across the stone walls. The girl followed close behind, her small steps echoing. After a long silence, the man spoke, his voice low but sharp. "You need to tell me everything. No more secrets. What are you really?" The girl lowered her head. Her voice was quiet, but each word carried weight. "I am the one they fear. The one they call listener. They say if I grow, if I learn, I will change the war." The man's torch flickered. His breath grew heavy. A child with the power to touch hearts, to turn enemies into allies, or to destroy armies with fear. He stared at her, his mind racing. If what she said was true, then protecting her was not just about saving one child. It was about saving something far greater. From behind them, the sound of armored footsteps echoed into the tunnel. They had been found. The girl gripped his arm tightly, her glowing eyes wide with desperation. "Please," she whispered, "do not let them take me." The man raised his knife, his eyes burning with a fire he thought was long gone. "They'll have to go through me first." The tunnel shook with the sound of the hunters closing in, and the secret of the tiny alien girl had just become his greatest burden. The dangerous chase, the tunnel shook as if the ground itself was alive. Dust rained down from the cracked ceiling, and the distant sound of metal boots echoed closer and closer. The hunters had found them. The man's grip tightened on the torch with one hand and the knife with the other. His eyes darted around the dark, broken passage. He had fought in many battles, but this was different. He was not only fighting for himself, he was fighting for a child who carried secrets even she barely understood. Stay behind me, he ordered sharply. The tiny alien girl nodded, her glowing eyes trembling but unblinking. Her small hand clung to his sleeve as if it was her only lifeline. The hunters' voices grew louder, speaking in their guttural alien tongue. A harsh beam of light swept into the tunnel from behind. They are close, the girl whispered. Her voice cracked, but there was no fear, only urgency. The man's jaw tightened. Then we move. They sprinted deeper into the tunnel. The air grew colder, the walls narrower. Their footsteps echoed like thunder. The girl stumbled once, but the man caught her arm and pulled her forward without slowing. Behind them, energy blasts scorched the stone, shaking the ground. Sparks flew, lighting the tunnel for brief, terrifying seconds. Faster, he growled. The girl's glowing eyes flared as she whispered something under her breath. A shimmer of light rippled in the air behind them, like a thin curtain of energy. When the next blast came, it bent slightly, striking the wall instead of their backs. The man glanced at her in shock. What did you— She cut him off, her small voice strained. I cannot hold it long. He gritted his teeth and pushed forward. They reached a broken section of the tunnel where the ceiling had collapsed, leaving only a small crawl space through jagged stone. Go, he barked. The girl squeezed through first, scraping her arms on the rough rocks. He followed. Shoving himself through the narrow space, his knife clutched tight. Just as he pulled his legs clear, a blast struck the rubble behind him, sending shards flying. The girl yelped, and he shielded her with his body, taking the sting of broken stone against his back. Keep moving, he urged, ignoring the pain. They stumbled into a larger chamber, once part of an underground facility. Rusted machines lay scattered, and broken pipes dripped water from the ceiling. The man scanned quickly. 3 tunnels branched out. Before he could decide, the girl tugged his sleeve. Her glowing eyes flickered with urgency. Not left. Not middle. They wait there, he frowned. You can sense them? She nodded quickly. Without hesitation, he pulled her toward the right tunnel. His instincts told him she was right. He had learned long ago to trust instinct in battle, and now her gift was part of that instinct. The chase did not stop. The hunter's heavy boots echoed behind, closer with each second. The tunnel sloped downward, water running across the floor. The man's boots splashed as he dragged the girl forward. His lungs burned, but he kept pushing. Suddenly the girl stumbled, falling to her knees. I can't, she whispered weakly. Her glow dimmed. The man knelt beside her, breathing hard. He wanted to tell her to get up, to keep running, but when he saw her tiny form trembling, exhaustion pulling at her, his anger shifted. He knelt close, his voice low but firm. Listen to me. You're stronger than you think. They will not take you, not while I breathe. But you must move now. Understand? The girl lifted her head slowly. Her glowing eyes locked onto his, and for the first time, she saw not just a survivor but a protector. She nodded faintly and with a shaky breath stood again. The man took her hand firmly. Good. Now run. Together they surged forward just as the hunters burst into the chamber behind them. Beams of light cut through the darkness, followed by the hiss of alien voices. The man spun, hurling his torch into the water, plunging the tunnel into near blackness. Only the girl's faint glow lit their path. Blinded for a moment, the hunters fired wildly, blasts scorching walls but missing their targets. The man and the girl slipped deeper into the dark, hearts pounding, but the chase was far from over. At the end of the tunnel, a metal grate blocked their path. Rusted bent, but still too strong to break with bare hands. The man cursed, slamming his knife against the bars. Damn it! The hunter's footsteps grew louder. They had no time. The girl's eyes glowed brighter, trembling with strain. She pressed her small hands against the bars. I can try, she whispered. The man grabbed her shoulders. What are you— Before he could finish, the air around her shimmered. The metal began to vibrate, groaning as if some unseen force pressed against it. Sparks burst, and slowly the grate bent outward. Her body shook violently, her voice straining. Go! The man didn't hesitate. He pulled her through the opening just as the hunter's shadows filled the tunnel behind them. The grate snapped back into place with a loud clang, sealing the path. The girl collapsed into his arms, her glow flickering weakly. He held her tightly, chest heaving. His mind raced with questions about her power, about the hunters, about the truth she carried. But one thought cut through all others. He had chosen to protect her. And now there was no turning back. From behind the grate, the hunters slammed against the barrier, their guttural voices echoing like thunder. The man lifted the girl in his arms, her small frame light against his scarred body. "We keep running," he muttered, more to himself than to her. Her eyes opened faintly, glowing in the darkness. "You will not leave me?" He looked down at her, his expression hard but steady. "No, never." And as the tunnel stretched into the unknown, the dangerous chase was far from over. The choice of humanity. The tunnel ended in a wide cavern, lit by the faint glow of broken machines from a forgotten age. Rusted beams hung overhead, dripping water like falling tears. The man laid the girl gently on the cold stone floor. Her glow was weak now, flickering like a candle in the wind. He pressed his ear against the wall. The hunters were still coming. He could hear their heavy boots, their weapons humming with deadly power. They would not stop until they had her. The girl opened her eyes slowly, her small voice trembling. "You should go. Leave me." The man's jaw clenched. "Not a chance," her eyes shimmered. "If they catch you, you will die." "If they catch me, the war will never end. You cannot fight them all." He looked at her, small, fragile, but carrying the weight of something far greater. She was right. He could not fight them all. But he could make a choice no alien empire expected from a human. The cavern trembled as the hunters entered. Their armor glowed, their weapons raised. 3 figures moved through the mist like shadows of death. The man stood slowly, placing himself between them and the child. Knife in his hand, fire in his eyes. One of the hunters spoke in broken human tongue, his voice cold and sharp. "Step aside. She is ours." The man's grip tightened on his blade. "Not anymore." The soldier tilted his head, amused. "You are only one. We are many." The man's lips curled into a grim smile. "One human is enough." The first blast came, bright, searing energy that could have split him in half. But he rolled aside, the beam scorching the stone where he had stood. He charged forward with a roar, his knife flashing. He struck one soldier in the neck joint, sparks flying as armor cracked. The alien fell with a metallic scream. The other 2 opened fire. Beams of light tore through the cavern, forcing him to dive and roll. One shot grazed his shoulder, burning through flesh. He gritted his teeth, ignoring the pain. Behind him, the girl pushed herself up weakly, her hands glowing brighter. She closed her eyes, whispering words in her strange tongue. Suddenly, one of the hunters froze, his weapon lowering. His body trembled, his breath ragged. His visor cracked as if something inside him broke. He dropped to his knees, his eyes wide with fear. The girl's glow burned brighter. She was not just touching his fear, she was tearing it open. The last hunter roared in anger, aiming directly at her. "No," the man shouted. He hurled himself in front of her, taking the blast full in the chest. The impact threw him back, slamming him against the wall. Blood filled his mouth. His vision blurred, but his body refused to fall. Slowly, painfully, he stood again, knife still in hand. The hunter stared at him in disbelief. "Impossible. You should be dead." The man spat blood and raised his blade. "Humans don't die easy." With a final surge of strength, he lunged. His knife pierced through the alien's chest plate, twisting deep. The hunter staggered, screeched, and collapsed. Silence filled the cavern. The man fell to one knee, breathing hard, blood dripping from his wounds. The girl crawled to him, her hands glowing faintly as she pressed them against his chest. Her voice trembled. "You protected me. Why?" He looked at her, his vision dim but steady. "Because you're worth more than all of us. You are the future." Her glow spread into him, warmth flowing through his broken body. Not enough to heal fully, but enough to keep him alive. Her eyes shone with tears. "You are not weak," she whispered. "Humans are strong." The man managed a faint smile. "Now you know." The cavern grew quiet again. The hunters were gone. The girl leaned against him, her small hand gripping his tightly. And in that moment, the war was no longer just about survival. It was about hope. The human had chosen not to run, not to hide, but to protect. And that choice would echo far beyond the ruins of this forgotten world. For the first time, the tiny alien girl believed in humanity, and for the first time in years, the man believed in something greater than himself.